Does America feed the world? A question that many people have asked when looking at America as a world power. The problem is that although America makes an attempt to do this, the mechanism of distributing food aid around the world is a point of failure. Often the food makes it into other countries successfully, but once it's in the country, it does not get to the people who are actually in need of the food. Our proposal offers suggestions and even a technique the government agencies can put into use, allowing long-term solutions rather than short-term fixes that we currently deploy to countries in need. This proposal aims not only to change the agriculture system, but improve systems that are currently doing well, which will allow America to become a stronger and more reliable world power when it comes to feeding those in need.
Currently, the United States is the highest food donating country in the world. Americans choose to give food aid in a direct donation because the United States has found that it fulfills our moral obligations as a world power. The government chooses to allocate its budget to foreign aid not only for a moral obligation, but also to use as a political stepping stone to manipulate other countries. Of the total budget, less than 1% is spent on foreign aid as a whole. The total amount of food aid in 2003 to 2012 was 17.9 billion. Of that, 9 billion alone was spent on transportation. Along with the issue of transportation, there are regulations that require the food we donate to be produced in America and shipped through our own companies. This process is slow and more costly, further eating away at the already small food budget. Even though so much of the budget is spent on transportation, the food does not reach the communities where the food is most needed. This can be due to weak government with little infrastructure or inefficient ways of transportation. Furthermore, when the food does reach these people, it creates dependency. This dependency results in not knowing how to be efficient or self-dependent. If you take a look at Africa on the map, it is evident that many countries struggle with being undernourished, even after the billions and billions of dollars of food aid they receive each year. Comparing the 2013 map to the 2015 map, you can notice that direct food aid has not improved the number of undernourished people in Africa. And in fact, some parts of Africa actually saw an increase in those numbers. We need to stop giving food aid directly and rather teach farmers efficient ways of producing their own food if we want to see improvements in poverty rates.
By giving direct food aid, many cultural boundaries are crossed. Since we make the food here in America, the food that is donated is not what the country is used to. This can create diet problems for those who accept our food. Many religions incorporate sacraments along with food, so by donating American food to them, we overstep our moral obligation and introduce modern American colonialism, something this country has fought against in the past. Along with changing the food, when we visit the countries to give the aid, as a whole, we leave behind our own thoughts, beliefs, and culture, which can overrun their culture. The U.S. aid framework itself mentions how they intend to increase women farmers for more of an efficiency. However, in many different countries, gender roles are very different, once again overruling their ideas. In the process of deciding where to give direct aid, the government systems are flawed. This technique is very subjective, since the way to determine who is hungry in the world depends mainly on children alone and does not account for the adults. The population of children is one of the most fluctuating subsets of the populations. Fluctuation of the total population runs in conjunction with the food aid. When the aid is recent and food present, the population increases due to the abundance of resources. In turn, when the food aid runs out or is moved, the population decreases because there are not enough resources for the now larger population. This cycle has been documented over countless cycles of replenishing food aid and is counterproductive, since it results in death when the original intent was to rid the country of starvation.
In order to help solve the issue of world hunger, we need to make a change to our current foreign aid policy by reallocating the money we spend on direct food aid to agricultural development instead. This means that we will help make what they currently grow sustainable, and it will also create strong infrastructure to help them communicate between other countries to try to eradicate any potential problems before they are deemed emergencies. Teaching farmers how to grow their food more efficiently means that we only have to touch an area once and can move on once we see that they have become more sustainable. This allows us to cover more countries, use money more efficiently, and it would help make a larger impact on the world. Also, by helping countries change how they grow crops, they can produce more with less interaction with outside nations. This interaction with outside countries causes an impression to be made and results in outside culture to overwhelm their culture. So, by decreasing outside nations' times inside these countries, they will be able to stay with their many traditions. Shifting a focus from direct food aid to agriculture development is also very cost effective because we'll be able to reduce a lot of our transportation cost, which equals out to be billions and billions of dollars each year. Another way to approach this issue is through private voluntary organizations, also known as PVOs. Prime examples of PVOs are Action Against Hunger, USA, Africare, and Food Resource Bank. In 2013, they raised $21.4 billion in private support and received $2.8 billion in U.S. support. Since the majority of the funding is self-funded, the money is never undervalued, which is why their approach is strategized for maximum results. POVs work with local governments and non-government organizations in the area of need. This allows the plan to be individualized to each spot, allowing for optimal delivery systems within the nation and the type of food desired that will best fit the needs of their communities. If we choose to take a direct food result, which is a less efficient manner, an approach similar to the POVs would create a maximum result. By making these changes, there are a multitude of benefits that will fall into place. The PVOs alone will decrease the layover time between America and the country in need, since they are already in the country and/or have a better understanding of the community in need of help. The other way to decrease time is through agricultural development. People in their own countries can control what they choose to grow, when to grow it, and who can grow it. With all the supplies they need, they have foregone the days of dependency and become self-sustainable. This eliminates the transportation time by 62% and decreases our spending by over half. Also, with the food being grown locally, these countries who were landlocked and received slower shipping will not have to go hungry until the shipment arrived. Procuring food locally within and around communities in need has shown to have an average cost saving of 50%, including transportation. By focusing on the agricultural development, the amount of food grown will be increased. This will allow for a larger food supply and more jobs to be made. This development can be used not only as a way to increase their sustainability, but also be used as a springboard for their economy to grow. This growth in their economy will create a positive income effect, which will increase their standards of living. As seen from the United States' point of view, this will allow for a potential trading partner. Overall, the current approach taken by the United States is not working. Direct food aid is not cost-effective and not readily available. This approach has been through the past 6 decades, with only change being an increase to spending. Our proposed process will allow for minimal time to be spent in a country and therefore keep away from high cultural impressions. Once farmers have learned a more effective way of producing food, they can share their methods with other farmers to become self-sustaining. From the United States standpoint, we gain a potential trading partner and use money in food aid more efficiently. In the end, by moving the money spent on direct aid to agricultural aid, we will help solve the issue of world hunger, assist in developing a stronger economy in foreign countries, as well as increasing their quality of life.